before, and it did not record the way that I wanted it to record. So make sure that I am able to share my screen with you. That's not working. I'm going to share screen 2 with you. There we go. All right. Hopefully you guys can see this. All right, so let's just dive into, I'm going to go back one slide because I want you to see that we are on step 4 and we are on the art of asking. So the day is Saturday, April 27th. And because I am going to post this probably on my personal Facebook page as well, I'm going to do a little bit of a recap of the first 7 weeks, the first 7 threats. We went through 1 threat per week. They're not very long. And then we went through the 7 truths. And now we are going through the steps of being your future self. And I want to share where I'm sharing these principles from. We are coming out of Dr. Benjamin Hardy's book, which I highly recommend that you add it to your library. This is a really fantastic book. But let me just quickly run through threats. So just from a very high level, we talked about without hope in your future, your present loses meaning. We also talked about prospection. I like that word because everything that we do is driven by our prospect for the future. Why? Because when we understand our reasons for what we do, then making decisions becomes easier. We also talked about writing out our vision and what is it that you really want out of life. We also talked about writing a letter from our current self, like right now, to our future self. And what is it that we want to tell our future self? So that was threat number 1 and 2. Threat number 3 is about being aware of how your surroundings can impact your thinking, your actions, and how you show up in the world. You'll be the same person you are in 5 years you are today, except for the people that you surround yourself with and the books that you read. And so being mindful of what we want out of life, the goals that we're currently pursuing, the life that we're currently living, thinking about, did we choose this life or did we fall into where we are by default? And then threat number 4 is you cannot create the life you want if you're not connected to the future you envision. You won't have the ability to think strategically and create the life you want if you're not connected to your future self. And we also said that every time we invest in ourselves, then we make our lives better for our future selves. And so we become committed to whatever it is that we invest in, and it helps us to grow. And the only way to make our present better is by envisioning our future and making it bigger. Threat number 5 was focusing on the small and the urgent goals. Living day to day makes us live in a hurry state, kind of on that hamster wheel, being late for everything that we do, and it causes us to be stressed. So we talk about the urgent are not important, the important are never urgent. And remember, I said that we all get 24 hours in the day. God doesn't give some 24 hours and some 34 hours. We all get 24 hours in a day. What we have control over are the events that we place on our calendar and how we manage those activities and those events in our life. And so that was threat number 5. Threat number 6 is getting out into the field or the game of life. If you're not in the arena, then you're not growing and you're not evolving. And many times it's because we've allowed fear to freeze us. And I talked about being courageous. And being courageous doesn't necessarily mean that we don't have fear. It literally means that we are feeling the fear and we're doing it anyway. I need to move my keyboard because I want to make sure that you guys can hear me through this mic. Just a little bit closer here. So having the courage to do the things that we want to do out of life, feeling the fear, doing it anyway, whether it's writing that book, whether it's going for the job, whether it's moving to another city, whether it's asking that person out, that girl, that guy out. Being fearless doesn't mean that you don't have fear. It just means that you are courageous. You're feeling the fear. You're doing it anyway. And remember, I said fear is really only a vibration in our bodies. We don't like to feel that emotion, but it's okay. And once you get through it the first time, the second time, it gets a little bit easier. We talked about the acronym of fear. Fear is FEAR, false events appearing real. So it's not real. And then lastly, we talked about threat number 7, success brings opportunities, distractions, and disruptions. And when things are really going great in our lives, when you've done all of the activities and the actionable steps that got you to where you are right now, where you feel like you've been a success, sometimes what will happen is we will rest on our laurels. We will become complacent because we have reached the pinnacle of that goal. And so we stop exercising, we stop meditating, we stop doing all the things that got us to where we are, and we ultimately end up self-sabotaging. And we go back to our baseline of comfortability. So we don't want to do those things because those are all threats to becoming our best future self. Now, the truths to our future self, there are 7. Our future drives our present. Your future, every behavior, no matter how small, every activity, no matter how small, will have an outcome of some sort on your future self, who you become 3, 6, 9, or 12 months from now. And we talked about like being focused and determined and making sure that we plan things out with no excuses. The Bible is really clear in terms of writing the vision and making it plain. Our goals create for us a path to kind of guide us to where we want to be. So truth number 1 is that your future drives your present. What you do today impacts your future of tomorrow, 3, 6, 9, or 12 months from now. And then we learned in truth 2, your future self is different than you think. Who you were 10 years ago, you're not the same person. So I think about like 10 years ago, April 2014, I shared this in the group. And by the way, I do want to let you guys know, and I'll tell you how to get in the group. If you want to get in the group, you can go back and watch some of the previous videos. But 10 years ago, actually 10 years ago this month, April 2014, I had written out some of the things that I wanted to accomplish in life, stuck it in a journal. And then a few months ago, Rob and I were going through the garage, or I was going through my journals, and out falls this envelope that I had sealed in April 2014, 10 years ago. And on there, I had written like where I wanted to be in life in terms of my career, the role that I wanted to play, how much money I wanted to make, the type of home I wanted to live in, and all of the things that I really wanted. Well, when I opened it up a few months ago, 10 years ago is when I wrote it, opened it up a few months ago, and I had accomplished everything on there. So it's really important. I'm going to talk a lot about making sure that we journal and that we write out the things that we want in our life. But I said all that to say that where I was 10 years ago, I was in a different city. I was in a different job. I was in a different home. A lot has happened in those 10 years. So we grow, our perspectives change, our values change, our priorities change, our circumstances, of course, change. So we also talked about having a fixed mindset rather than a growth mindset. If we have a fixed mindset, that means we don't have, or we're not exercising our imagination, and we're lacking confidence and we fear failure. That's that fixed mindset. But when we have a growth mindset, We put ourselves out there, and I always like to say we fail fast and we fail often. Failing is not fatal. It doesn't feel good, obviously, but it will help us grow and it will help you do better, because when you do, you get a lesson. When you fail, you get a lesson and you do become better. Truth number 3 is becoming our future self. You will pay the piper. What does that mean? It means your future consequences for our current decisions will occur. So everything that we do right now will impact our future, will have a consequence on our future. So if you invest in yourself now, you'll look back on this time and realize that you made the best decision you could have made with no pain or regret, whether it's taking a course, going to school, taking a webinar, taking a language course, anything that you want to do. If you do that now and you remain consistent with it, you will not have that pain of, I wish I had done it. Because guess what? 3, 6, 9, or 12 months will go by anyway. So you will either be in the same place that you are now, or you will progress to the goal that you've established for yourself. And then truth number 4 is the more vivid and detailed your future self is, the faster you will progress. The point is, when your vision is driving your effort, you realize that your transformation is at a point where you cannot retreat and you have to keep moving forward. There's no turning back, and we call that it's time to burn the ships. And then in truth number 6, according to Dr. Hardy, the author of the book that we're using, is that success can only be accomplished by being true to your desired future self, who you choose and want to become. And as you grow and as you evolve, your view of your future self will also grow and evolve. And you can have a choice to either stay on the old path or get on a new path. So we talked a lot about investing in yourself. Like I said, it's either, going to a course or a webinar or taking some type of course to continually educating yourself and growing yourself. Then we talked about habits and automaticity. And automaticity is the ability to effortlessly and skillfully complete a task without conscious thought. So I like to use the example of shifting a manual stick shift, right? You can talk and drink and eat fries and chew gum all at the same time while you're shifting those gears. So that's automaticity, or it's a skill that you've developed that you don't have to think about, versus deliberate practice. Deliberate practice takes conscious effort and attention. Deliberate practice focuses on your future self, and it can be uncomfortable, but to fully engage in deliberate practice is to have a very clear picture of where you want to be. We're going to talk a lot about clarity and figuring out where you want to be 1 year from now. Truth number 6 is, above all, success is achieved by being true to yourself. Shakespeare said, to thy own self be true. I learned that in the 12-step program, and it's been a philosophy and a principle that I've carried with me for a long time. So truth number 7 is, your view of God will impact your future. I'm a firm believer that when you have a solid spiritual foundation and a relationship with God, your thinking changes, your perspectives in the world change. Romans 12:2 says, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God. And then we moved into the actionable steps to becoming the best version of our future selves. So we started with step number 1, which is to identify where you are in your purpose. This is the time to examine your values, your perspective, how you see things differently, literally placing yourself in the time and space from now, 3, 6, 9, or 12 months from now, on purpose and intentionally. Step number 2 is becoming the best version of your future self, and it's focusing on what you want. Your purpose, eliminating those distractions. I call them the shiny object syndrome or squirrel. And because when you focus on those things, it takes you away from the goal that you're trying to accomplish. And so Those lesser goals, those shiny objects, we are distracted by those because they're easier. They're easier to do. It's easier to scroll. It's easier to watch the Netflix. It's easier to binge on whatever TV show that you like to binge on. So don't get distracted by those lesser goals. Bishop Brunner said, distraction is the enemy of direction. Distraction is the destruction of direction. Ask yourself, what direction do you want to be moving towards? Then last week we talked about needing, wanting, and knowing by faith what it is that God has for you, believing that it is already done, and then thanking Him for it. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as well. So let's just kind of dive into intro. We're going to talk about asking because that's what we're talking about today. Dreaming, being more intentional about your actions. And then we're going to take just a few moments to reflect and to get clear on what it is you want to accomplish. Then I have a special offer that I want to give you. So I promise I'll cover that in brief. And then we'll close out in summary. And for those of you who've been with me for the last 14 weeks, 14, 17 weeks now, I like to close out and with gratitude. But for some of you who are new to me and new to this, let me just tell you who I am. I'm Sandra Lee Branch. I am a spiritual life coach. I help mostly women, but other people too, men too, who are feeling unfulfilled, lacking purpose and direction in their life. This is important to me because at one point I was there. I know what it's like to be kind of a wandering generality. That's what Zig Ziglar would call it, not really having a defined goal or path for my life. And so I want to help others to be able to create a life map so that you too can get to your dream destination. I want to be able to help you tap into your God-given potential and leverage your faith-based principles to overcome those life challenges that we all face. For me, it was, losing my mom. I went through a divorce after about almost 40 years. Maybe you're older adult and you've got like adult kids, but you also have your parents. And so you're kind of like in that sandwich in between. So just to kind of help you to be able to overcome those challenges and find peace and live a life that's purposeful and meaningful, that's aligned with your own core beliefs and your values. I believe that we rise by lifting up others. So that's who I am. Let's just dive into our subject for today. So ask, right? Ask for what you want and ask big. Because if you could do it on your own, then that means you don't need God. So ask big. God will give you what you ask for if you ask for in faith. And the word ask appears in the Bible more than 35 times in different contexts, of course. But ask and it shall be given you. Seek and you shall find. Knock and it shall be open unto you. That's Matthew 7:7. And I have some other scriptures that I'll share with you later on as we get through this presentation. So how many times have you gone to a YouTube channel and what is the one thing that the person who you might be watching says to the viewing audience? They say, before you go any further, hit that subscribe button and notification so that you don't miss upcoming videos. They're asking you to do something. So if we want something from someone, what do? We ask, right? So when we go to the store and the clerk walks up to you, what do they say to you? They say, may I help you? They ask. When you want to know the cost of something, what do? You ask, right? How much does this cost? So you are experienced and you're the subject matter expert and asking for what you want and asking your friends to brunch or lunch or to go somewhere with you. And men, in most cases, will pop the question and ask their girlfriend or their person that they're dating, will you marry me? If you want something in life, we cannot be wallflowers and just expect others to read our minds. You have to ask. If we want the job, most people forget after the interview, and I been in HR for almost 2 decades. You have to ask for the job. I cannot tell you how many people will go through the interview for an hour and they forget at the end to ask for the job. It's as simple as saying, I would really enjoy working with your team. I would really enjoy becoming a part of your organization. Ask for the job before you walk out. So I think you all get the point. The point is ask. All right. So we want to talk about faith because when you dream of a new life, right, you've got to have a vision for that. And then you also have to have faith. And faith is knowing that when you ask for something, that it can come to pass. But you also have to take actionable steps. But what is faith? Faith is this deeply personal concept that often involves belief, it involves trust, it involves conviction. And most times without proof or evidence, right? So the Bible states in Hebrew 11:1, having faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. And last week I shared with you Denzel Washington quote that said, true desire in the heart for anything good is God's proof to you sent beforehand to indicate that it's already yours. And Dr. Hardy, in his book, he talks about another author. His name is Joshua Wolf Shenk, and he wrote a book called The Power of Two. And basically, what he says is when you speak of what you want in life, even when one person hears it, it already starts to begin this generative loop. So you can know that you are committed to something when you simply ask for it. When you ask directly and you ask boldly and you ask without apology. Jesus said in Matthew 7:7, ask and it shall be given to you. Seek and you shall find. Knock and it will be open unto you. But he goes on further to say this, for everyone that asks receives, and he that seeks will find, and to him who knocks it shall be open. So many times we don't dream. And why do you think that is? Well, we don't dream and we don't ask because we don't have the faith that it will happen. So we sort of kind of lower our expectations. And Rita Davenport used to say, well, what good are low expectations? Now is really a great time to get quiet, to be intentional, and to think to yourself, what is it I truly want out of my life right now? Doesn't matter how old you are. Doesn't matter how young you are. Doesn't matter if you're male or female. I want to encourage you to get really clear in your mind, get clear in your mind where you are right now. Where you are right now. Did you intentionally get there? Did you purposely lay out a plan, an actionable plan to get to where you are? Many people don't. I mean, we usually end up in life by default. There are some of us who really are very diligent about planning out our lives, gonna finish school, or I'm gonna go for this job, or I'm gonna marry this person, I'm gonna live in this house, I'm gonna drive this car. Did you intentionally get to where you are right now, or did life and time just slip by and you are where you are by default? And I want you to change that right now. I want you to shift your paradigm and that perception and that thinking and become more intentional. My word this year is intentional. And to be intentional means to live on purpose. Last year and the year before, my word was trust because I was going through that really horrible time that I told you about when my mom passed away and I was served with divorce papers. And so God had given me a scripture and I kind of meditated on the scripture for almost 3 years. It was Proverbs 3:5, trust in the Lord with all thy heart, lean not into thy own understanding, and all of your ways acknowledge him and he will direct your path. And so that's what I focused on for really probably the last 3 to 4 years. This year, my word is intentional, to live on purpose. So when Rob and I first started dating, we took our first vacation to Orange Beach, Alabama. And you all who know me pretty well know that is my favorite vacation spot. Yes, Alabama, not Cancun, not Aruba. Well, okay, well, maybe Aruba is a very close second. But what I said to him after we decided we were going to become a couple and we were thinking long term, is that I want to travel. So he's retired already. He's working a fun job right now. And I'm retirement age, but not retired. But I still want to enjoy life until I do retire, but not wait until I retire. My work right now, I work in human resources. I've been doing it for almost 2 decades, and it gives me meaning and purpose. So my goal is not to wait until retirement to live my life. I want to live my life now. So I said to him, I would love to take a vacation once a quarter. That's 4 vacations a year. And they don't have to be week-long vacations, but it was important for me to just have some time away and spend that time with him. And we would leave like on a Monday or a Thursday, come back on a Monday, or we would leave on a Wednesday or a Thursday, come back on a Monday. So we would have the weekend in between. But here's the point. I stated what I wanted, and my intention was to not only have some time away, but to also have some time away with him 4 times a year. Now, not exactly like every quarter. It didn't work out that way where we would be gone exactly 3 months apart, but close. So the last couple of years, we've taken several vacations, and last year we opened up 2023 on New Year's Day, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day in Orange Beach, Alabama. That's my favorite place. And then we followed that up in March, almost 3 months later. We went to Gatlinburg. And then in May, we got married and we went back to, you guessed it, Orange Beach, Alabama. And then the end of June, first part of July, we went to Seattle, Washington, and we spent July 4th holiday there. And then the end of July, we went back to Gatlinburg because I do love mountains. And then we closed out the year with a trip to Las Vegas because that's his favorite place to go. This year, 2024, we celebrated our birthdays in February in Vegas, Henderson, Nevada. And we're both February babies. Our birthdays are 1 week apart. And so that first trip was planned around our birthdays, and we were gone for several days. And then we planned our next trip, which is our anniversary trip. Our anniversary trip will be married 1 year at the end of May. So we're doing the same week, and we're going to Orange Beach, Alabama. You guessed it. And then in August, we'll go back to Vegas, Red Rock. And then in October and part of November, we'll be in Daytona Beach for a jazz festival. So I said all that to say that we were really intentional about how we wanted to spend our time on vacation for 2024. And he's a planner anyways, very meticulous about planning and laying things out. But I want you to be clear on what you want. And then I want you to plan and then expect to receive it. When you are clear and you ask specifically for what you want, it will come to pass. But we get what we ask for. The key is to be clear and persistent with your eyes focused on the go. And there has to be actionable steps in place that you have to take. I could say all day long, I want to take a vacation, but if I'm not clear, first of all, on where I want to go, and then if I don't take actionable steps, then I'll be saying that month after month, year after year, I want to fill in the blank, and nothing will ever happen. So if you want to build your future life, you have to sit down. You have to sit down, you have to clear your mind, and you have to think about where you see yourself. Really see in your mind's eye where you want to be. And then I'm going to ask you to take out a paper and pen right now and fill that out in terms of where do you see yourself. We're going to take a few moments to do that. And I'm going to ask you some questions. So just to kind of point this out, I told you I worked in HR. We used to have a saying to our supervisors who complained about an employee. They wanted to terminate or discipline or whatever the case may be. And they hadn't talked to HR about it. And then HR would say, well, if you didn't talk to us about it, you didn't document it, it never happened, right? So same principle here as we live and evolve, and you want different things out of life. Maybe it's a different home, maybe it's a different car, a new job, you want to start that business. Nothing happens with a wish. You have to take actionable steps. So that's what we're going to do right now. So get out that paper and pen. But before you start writing, I want you to close your eyes. Take a deep breath. And I want you to specifically think about what it is you want. Imagine where you want to be 1 year from now, April 27th, 2025. Do you want to be in the same place, exact space where you are right now to not progress 1 year from now? Or do you have a dream in your heart? Do you have a vision in your mind of where you see yourself, where you want to be? If you're in the home that you love or the apartment that you love, then maybe it's different decor. Maybe you want to decorate it differently. Detail that out in your mind. Maybe it's a vehicle that you need or want. What color is the vehicle? What is the make and model? What's the year? Write that out. If it's a red Ford Explorer with tan seats, write that out. Who are you with? If you're married, maybe you're with your husband. If you're not married, maybe the vision is to find that significant other. And you need to be specific about that as well. You need to know exactly who it is you're targeting in terms of characteristics. What type of personality traits does this person come with? Are they kind? Are they thoughtful? Are they loyal? Are they trustworthy? Are they tall? I don't know if I would say tall. I discovered, and my husband made me realize that the average male is 5'9". So don't get too tall, otherwise you will exclude yourself from the average person out there who's 5'9", and could be a really good person. But who are you with and what are you doing? Are you traveling? And if it's traveling, where are you traveling to? Do you have your passport? If you don't have your passport, what are the steps that you have to take to get your passport? Maybe it's going to the post office, getting the application, going to Walgreens and getting your passport picture taken and completing the application and filling it out and taking it back to the post office and sending it off. Simply accept the vision as something you already have once you have it all written out. And then what you want to do next is thank God for his blessing. Give him a prayer of gratitude for it already. And know that it is on the way. When we send our prayers up, you've heard the song, prayers go up, blessings come down. Sometimes prayers go up and there's a spiritual warfare happening that's stopping your prayers. And so the angels from heaven have to come in and, they do what they do to make sure that your prayers reach the ears of God. So thank God for his blessings that your vision is on the way. All right, so I hope that you take a few moments and do that. And then the next step, well, I promised you that I had a special offer for you, so let me just share what that is. So my special offer today is for a 1-hour clarity call along with a speedy priority finder. And it's a handout, but I have a little bit of a sample of it right here to help you get clear on what it is you want out of your life. And you can send me an email requesting the handout. And also, if you want to schedule a 30-minute clarity call with me, my email address is patfinder@outlook.com. But on this priority finder is some questions where you can ask yourself, and these are questions that you can consider. And then what you're going to do is out of those questions, you're going to identify your top 3 priorities. So for example, how would you like to spend more of your time? and what is missing in your leisure life that should be there, or what is most important to you right now, or if you could do anything with no limits, what would that be? And then what you'll do is pick 3 of those and then rank them in order of priority. So, and then you will start to kind of flesh that out a little bit, but at least you'll have your top 3 priorities. And then you can start to focus on what it is you really want in your life. All right. So, step 4, what we've been talking about is seeing yourself in the future 1 year from now and aligning your actions, thinking, planning, writing out, taking action now so that you can be your best future self in 2025. Don't be afraid, get clear on what it is that you want. We talked about being intentional and taking those actionable steps and then asking. The key is to be clear, to be direct, and to ask. So let me give you some clear scriptures to meditate on and then follow the instructions on the scriptures I'm going to give you. You can look these up, but I'll give you the scriptures and then it'll help you to look them up so that they start to be planted in your heart and you start to not only see them and hear them, but then start to believe that what you've prayed for and what you've asked for will come true. So the first one is, I gave it to you earlier, Matthew 7:7, ask and it will be given to you. Matthew 7:7, Matthew 21:22, Matthew 21:22. And whatever you ask in prayer, you will receive if you have faith. The next one is John 14. This is the Gospel of John 14:13. John 14:13. Whatever you ask in my name, this will I do, that the Father may be glorified. That's John 14:13. That's the Gospel of John. And then the next Gospel of John is John 15:7. If you abide in me and my words abide in you, ask whatever you wish, and it will be done for you. Now, First John is towards the end of the Bible in the New Testament. First John chapter 5, verse 14. First John chapter 5, verse 14. And this is the confidence that we have toward him, that if we ask anything according to his will, he hears us. And we know by faith that he hears us. And whatever we ask, we know that we have the request that we have asked of him. That's First John 5:14. The last one is Mark 11:24. This is a really popular one. Therefore, I tell you, whatever you ask in prayer, believe that you have received it and it will be yours. Do not be afraid to ask for what you want. All right, so we're going to close out in gratitude. I like to wrap up closing with gratitude and prayer, being grateful. And the reason why I like to do that, because all of the research is out. This particular graphic is by John Templeton Foundation. They did a study, and the reasons why it's so much better to live a life of gratefulness or to be grateful is that people who are grateful give 20% more of their time and their money to help others. Grateful people have a stronger bond within their local community and within their family. They tend to be happier and they earn 7% more income. And psychologically, gratitude, causes less stress. When you practice gratitude, it helps individuals, all of us, to have more satisfying relationship with others in our lives. And then lastly, overall, it just gives us this sense of positive emotions and can add up to 7 years to your life. So what I'd like for you to do is to say, what is the one thing that you're grateful for that happened today? Rob and I, we actually have what we call a gratitude moment. So every night at 9 p.m., our gratitude alarm goes off, and we say what we're grateful for one specific or two, it can be more than one blessing for the day. Because we've already every morning thank God for our life and our health and our family and our resources. I mean, we already thank Him for all those things, but those actions that we've taken throughout the day that either had an impact on somebody else or maybe somebody else did something for us that had an impact on us. And so we give thanks for that, for the small and the great things that may have occurred during that day. Gratefulness is a powerful tool and emotion that can help you live a more fulfilling life. So I am going to close. Next week, we'll be on step 5. We're going to talk about simplifying and optimizing your life, eliminating barriers, and getting clarity or creating clarity in the here and now. And if you have not added this book to your library, I'm going to encourage you to do so. It's a fantastic book. It's what I've been sharing with you or in my group for the last 14 weeks or 17 weeks. Dr. Hardy's book, Be Your Future Self Now, it kind of details how we can connect and create our desired future lives, but you do have to do the work. Faith without action is dead. We can have faith all day long. We can wish all day long, but faith without action is dead. So once you have the goal, then you do have to take action. And then you can go to futureself.com and simply enter your email address and get on his mailing list, and he will send you value added information I think it comes out every Friday. He does not spam, but what he does provide is really of value and it's free. So again, I recommend this book for your library. And then the reason why I'm recording this is because I will be at Dr. Eric Thomas UOU event tomorrow evening in Michigan. And so we're going to start this book after we're done with Be Your Future Self Now with Dr. Hardy. So I encourage you, if you have not added UOU yet to your library, it is highly worth it. I've listened to it on Audible. I've already read it, highlighted, made lots of notes in it. There's an assessment in here that's very similar to the disc. I have mentioned, I think, in my group to some of you, if you have not taken an assessment, to just kind of understand how you communicate and what your preference of communication is. It's always a good tool, creates a sense of self-awareness of how you show up. Again, it's just another tool to help you be more aware of you. But he has a tool that's very similar that he shares in the book. So with that, I want to thank you guys for allowing me to share this session with you. If you have questions, you can reach out to me. And again, Pathfinder by Lee@outlook.com if you want to email me for that clarity call and or that handout. I hope that you guys have a beautiful day. I am going to stop sharing my screen now and end this session, and I'll be gone this weekend. I may have to record next weekend too because I'm out of town next weekend for an appointment. So I will be talking to you guys in real time week after next, which I think will be the 11th, I believe. So until then, I hope that you have a fantastic Saturday, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye.